Thunderbolts is out this weekend in theaters. If you have seen it, this is going to be my spoiler review of Thunderbolts. If you haven't seen it, I have a spoiler-free review up. I'm not going to do this the way that I've done some other spoiler reviews. Sometimes I do topics and I do the chapter selection and the description for the video. Sometimes I don't. This is going to be one of those where I don't, because even though Thunderbolts is a big MCU movie, there's not a lot to spoil. You know, you can spoil things, but it's not very spoiler filled, if you know what I mean. There's just a few things I want to talk about that are on my mind about Thunderbolts, so let's get down to it. Again, if you haven't seen it, I have a spoiler free review, or if you just don't care about spoilers, welcome to the spoiler video. I like how this movie deals with mental health. I said that in my spoiler free review, and I think that trying to hammer that home with the Void is really well done. There's instances where, you know, we have this guy Bob, who is Sentry, Lewis Pullman's character, and I thought it was really cool that whenever he touches somebody, you can relive like their biggest regrets or their biggest mistakes or their past trauma, whatever, however you want to categorize. Like, for instance, there's a scene early in the movie when he touches Yelena and she's immediately reliving her past in the Red Room, where her Red Room training involved luring this young girl into the Red Room and having her be killed. And then you see some more of that trauma later on in the movie with the Red Room stuff, which, by the way, the like 30 seconds of the Red Room stuff in this movie is way better than the Red Room stuff we got in Black Widow. That's what I wanted from Black Widow, not some fucking dry cough thing and ugh, no, not that. This is what I wanted from the Red Room. Reliving their past trauma also happens a little bit later on in the movie. John Walker, who's played by Wyatt Russell, you understand that he is kind of in just an, I don't want to say an abusive relationship, but in that relationship where he just doesn't really care. His wife and kid have walked away now, and he's reliving that through his trauma when Bob touches him. And honestly, you get to see Bob's trauma too. He's a former drug addict. He was on meth, especially at the end when Yelena goes into the Void and she's reliving all these different memories of her past trauma and why she feels so lonely. I mean, there's that awesome speech that she has with Red Guardian and how she feels alone, and what all she does is go home after her jobs, because at the beginning of this movie she gives a monologue about how she feels lonely and how being lonely feels like a void, and she's literally just working jobs, working as a cleaner, taking these people out, going back home, just looking at her phone, drinking a bottle of liquor, and then going to her next job. That's really it. That's how she feels. But nobody really understands her perspective from that all that much, except for Alexei Shostakov, her adoptive father. And that makes the conversation that they have feel more poignant and powerful when she's saying that I feel alone. And that's where the emotion for the movie really hit its stride for me. And I feel like we haven't had that in a while in an MCU movie. Now, I've seen a lot of people say online that, oh, we didn't see Ghost's past trauma, we didn't see Bucky's past trauma or depression or anything that happens whenever they touch the Void. I don't think we really needed that. For one, with Bucky, it's called Captain America the Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War. We already got 2 movies with that. Ghost, I kind of get it, because you kind of had her backstory in Ant-Man and the Wasp and how she's able to phase in and out of things. So that makes sense to me. Alexei Shostakov, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it would be kind of a weird character shift if all of a sudden, since he's kind of the comic relief guy, if we just all of a sudden went into this past trauma of his that he's dealing with that he can't let go all of a sudden. Because I just viewed everything in this, from his own limo service, which is hilarious as hell. He owns a limo service, as like him moving on from his past misdeeds. I think seeing Yelena and Bob's past trauma, I think that connection there is going to be something to look at further in the MCU. Bob and Yelena wedding went. Give me that, because there is definitely some tension, and I mean like romantic tension going on there, in my opinion. So one of the first action scenes in the movie, yeah, well, this is the worst kept secret ever. Taskmaster dies. It's like literally, like I don't get how Olga Kurylenko came back. Like, why did she agree to this? I get why they did it. They wanted the surprise in the movie early, but nobody was surprised because Taskmaster was barely in any of the marketing. She was in the trailer in that one scene, but nothing else in the trailers. And she's always plopped in the background of the posters and promotional images and promotional stills, production images. It was a foregone conclusion Taskmaster was getting ganked. Like, there's no fooling us here. It's cold blooded for sure. But it's just kind of like, okay, like she's fighting and then Ghost shoots her dead. And everybody's like, "Eh, Taskmaster's dead now, so yeah, how do we get out of here?" That was the funniest part to me. Where it was just like nobody really gives a shit about Taskmaster, huh? Because I didn't really hear good things about Taskmaster and Black Widow. I mean, I thought it was okay in Black Widow, but a lot of people didn't like her in Black Widow, so I feel like that this is their way of being like, yeah, Taskmaster, you don't like it, okay, out the window. And now since this is the multiverse, we can get another Taskmaster, right? It was funny too because it had that one obligatory shot of Olga Kurylenko's face, and then it had that one obligatory line of dialogue that she has before she just gets ganked in the fucking head. But for the scene, I love the setup, and I love the setup of the entire movie. That every one of these characters that are known as the Thunderbolts are lured into this one place by Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Julia Louise Dreyfus. They're supposed to take each other out. Yelena is sent there to kill Ghost. Ghost is sent there to kill John Walker. John Walker is sent there to kill Taskmaster, or Ghost is sent there to kill Taskmaster, and John Walker is sent there to kill Ghost. Something like that. And it's just funny that it's like it's a death trap. Like they're being set up because DeFontaine is trying to get rid of incriminating evidence against her so that she doesn't get impeached, which can you get impeached from the CIA? So I love that setup. And it's interesting too, because the movie kind of plays out as if it's only a 2-location movie because you take place in this bunker, this vault that DeFontaine has for half the movie. And then you're in New York City for the last third of the movie. And that's really it. That's really hell that you have with Thunderbolts. Of course, there's more here story wise. Of course, it's the team banding together, trying to put their differences aside, of course, as characters who are always pitted against each other that have to work together always are. That's how this plays out. But I think that they actually did it in a really good way. And in a way where it got actual emotion out of me for the first time in a while in an MCU movie. Sure, I love my fun, punchy, kicky MCU superhero stuff, like the stuff in Brave New World where Sam Wilson as Captain America takes on Red Hulk and they fight, and Red Hulk smashes shit and Hulk claps shit and all that. Like, yeah, that's fun, but it's also mindless at the same time. It's just nice to have the character driven pieces and the emotional pieces back in the MCU after what feels like a bit of an absence. And it feels like there is a strong focus there. I liked everything in the third act. The third act is very, very weird because that's when Yelena enters the void and you see what happens with Bob in the void. Robert Reynolds was experimented on. Like him as Sentry turns people into shadows. Really, really interesting stuff. A very different type of Marvel movie at that point. And I was here for it. I like it when Marvel gets weird. I like it when they get strange. I like it when they do stuff that's not necessarily on their docket. I like it when they're out of their comfort zone. And that entire third act felt like it was Marvel out of their comfort zone. And it was an interesting way to take characters that don't necessarily have superpowers and pit them against something that feels very unconventional to them. Yelena in this movie is also just saying like, "Oh, like do any of us fly? Is that all we do is punch and shoot?" It's interesting. And the team, the Thunderbolts, what was it? The West Rochester, New York Thunderbolts or something, named after Yelena's horrible youth soccer team. yeah, they become the new Avengers at the end. I did think that that was a bit abrupt. That whole ending I thought was a bit abrupt. They come out of the void, and then there's this press conference set up by DeFontaine where it's like they're the new Avengers, and they're all like, "Wait, what?" I love how it doesn't really let you sit with it. I love how the credits are kind of just like thinking along with us, where it's like, wait, huh? The mid-credit scene, I don't really have to talk about. That's that whole Wheatie box thing. That's not really the one to talk about. The one to talk about is the post-credit scene, and that is the now new Avengers, in which Ghost looks like Haley Atwell for some reason as Peggy Carter, which I got confused there for a minute. Yeah, they receive a distress call, and then they know that there's threats out there. And the funniest part about this whole scene is that Sam Wilson is suing them for the Avengers name. So Alexi comes up with like a new Avengers with a Z. That was hilarious. And then we see the Fantastic Four ship. I just happened to look up, sitting through the credits for my first viewing of this movie, and at one point I just happened to look up, and it was where they usually list all the song names that they use in the movie. The last one listed was Fantastic Four theme. And I'm like, thank you. You just spoiled it for me. Yeah, so the Fantastic Four got spoiled in that way for me. You don't actually see the Fantastic Four, you just see their ship, and it has the four on it. But yeah, it feels like we're actually going places now. It is going to be interesting to see how this springboards into Doomsday. I guess the Russo brothers directed that post-credit scene. Jake Schreier, the director of Thunderbolts, did not. He was on set that day, but I guess they filmed it about 4 weeks ago so they could put it at the end of this movie, set up Fantastic Four, set up Avengers Doomsday. It's going to be interesting to see what this team has in store for it, minus Taskmaster, since Taskmaster is like dead. So that's really all I have to talk about with Thunderbolts. And I saw it again, enjoyed it a lot again. Maybe the same amount, maybe a little bit more than I did on my first viewing, but I still think it's a really good MCU movie, one of the better ones of the multiverse saga, especially if the multiverse saga has been very disappointing for you. I think that this will kind of right the ship for you. That will be like, oh yeah, this is what Marvel is like when they're on their A game. So there you go. So feel free to spoil in the comments anything about Thunderbolts. I will ask you, what was your favorite part of Thunderbolts? Go as in depth as you want in the comments below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.